Hey, welcome back to Python MC. I'm your Python MC coach, Richard Ashe, and in this section we are going to break code. We're going to break conditionals. We're going to find all the different ways to mess up conditionals in Python. So here we go. We're going to mess up, we're going to change the variable names. We're going to be inconsistent with our variable name. So in this case, I'm going to just call it capital M magic number instead of lowercase. Now later, so we're going to assign this now different variable name because it's case sensitive. Capital M magic number is equal to 6, and it's going to run the code initially because it's like, okay, well, find magic number capital M equals 6, and now guess is a variable that's equal to whatever the user gives me in terms of the user input. That'll work just fine, but then it gets to line 5 and it says, whoa, it's a name error. What is magic number? This lowercase m magic number, I've never seen that before. So that's not a name that's built into Python, so you get a name error. So you just have to be consistent. If you're going to call it lowercase magic underscore number, you just have to be consistent all the way throughout your code. Every time you're referencing that, you got to spell it the same way. If it's lowercase, make it lowercase. If there's an underscore, it's got to have an underscore. You just have to be consistent. So now let's see, I'm going to forget to put in the second quote mark. You get this weird EOL, it's an end of line, which basically means it was expecting the line to finish in a certain way because you started the quote, you got to finish the quote. So you just have to be really consistent when you're using a string in this case. You have to have both a starting quotation mark and an ending quotation mark, okay? Now down here, let's see, we're going to say guess. I'm just going to delete input and see what that does to my code. It should mess it up a lot. So it just goes to too high, okay? Which basically it's a bug. It basically I assigned guess to equal this value because I didn't put in the keyword input, and therefore it doesn't know I'm supposed to be getting user input at all. It just goes to the code and it says, well, guess doesn't equal magic number. It's not less than magic number, so it must be too high. But the input is a key word because what that input does, that it's a way for us to tell Python, I want you to get user input, and here's the prompt. In other words, here's what we're telling the user to give us. So in the Google search bar, that's just the word Google with the little space next to it, waiting for the user to type in a search string. And here, we're going to put in a number, guessing the number between 1 and 10. Let's see what else we're going to do. Okay, with for loops, while loops, conditionals, and functions, if there is not a colon, that 2 dots, if I make it a semicolon, let's say, is going to screw up my code. It's going to say it's invalid syntax. You need the 2 dots. And then that's telling Python that the next line in the code, so line number 6, is part of this block. So it basically says it'll execute line 6 if guess is equal to magic number. Let's see, what else we're going to do? We are going to delete this equal sign, and I'll get a syntax error there. Remember, if I'm assigning a value, like 6, to magic number, then I use a single equal sign. If I'm checking if one value is equal to another, then I need 2 equal sign. Okay? So with conditionals, it's expecting for you to compare different values to check if, for example, one value is equal to another or less than another. There's various different ways to compare, and if you're trying to see if one is equal to another, you need 2 equal signs. The way to remember that is equals equals. Does it really equal this number? So 2 equal sign if you're testing a value or comparing. Down here, let's see, we're going to forget to indent. That's another way to screw up our code, because after it sees that colon, it's expecting a line of code to be indented, because it's saying, okay, after you're creating a conditional with this if, and it's expecting, well, I'm going to do something if this is true. And then you have to indent it 1, 2, 3, 4, so it knows that that is the line of code that it'll execute if line 5 is true, if guess is equal to magic number. Okay, now we're going to run that again. That should work. Okay, let's see how else we're going to screw this up. I will just go to use else. So it's supposed to be elif, and in this case I said, so it's if elif else, checking a condition. In this case, I try to use else instead, and that'll screw me up. So it's just going to give me a syntax error. So it's if, elif, else. And so down here, let's see, what else could we do? Again, we could have the end of line, or the indentation error. So you got to indent your block of code. And let's see, we've messed this up quite a few ways. So what we want you to do is get into it, play around with it, break it, and we'll see you again on Python MC.